Hey everyone, Michael here. How you doing? Back for another live pronunciation training session where I'm going to answer your questions, teach you some really useful stuff so that you're feeling more confident to speak English in meetings, presentations and job interviews. So say hi, let me know who we've got here already. Thanks for being here right at the start. We're going to go live for about half an hour. I'm going to answer your questions and looking forward to delivering some real value to you. Khalil, hey, how you doing? Thanks for being right here again, Khalil. Manny, how you doing? Great to have you both here. Thanks for being here right at the start. How are you both doing? How's your week going? You're quite well? Excellent. Good stuff. Hi, Wataru. How you doing? Wataru, are you watching in Japan or whereabouts are you watching from? I think, as all of you know, I normally get really thirsty, so I've got a big bottle of water with me here today. Hope everyone's had a good week. Mine's been busy. Miriam, how you doing from Turkey? Good to see you here, Miriam. Great to have you on the live. Whereabouts in Turkey are you watching from? November, eh? Already, what, halfway through November almost? I can't believe it. Can't believe how quickly it's going. Oh, cool. Okay. So, hey, Jonathan, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. Wataru, you're from Japan, but you're in Ireland. Cool. I lived in Japan, Wataru, for about a year. So I know Japan fairly well. I like it very much. Okay, Khalil has asked right away. What is the title? What are your difficulties, or what are you difficulties? Okay, good question. It is what are your difficulties? I don't know if I spelled it correctly. I think I did. What are your difficulties is the title, Khalil. So cool. I'm really pleased. We've got lots of people joining already. Fatima from Morocco. Hey Fatima, how you doing? Now I know it's Fatima and not Amina. Great to have you here. Everyone, I've got lots of people coming back from watching it before, so thanks everyone for being here. Great to have you all here. And I'm happy just to dive in and start answering some questions. I'm going to be live for about half an hour, 35 minutes for now. I'm doing a live training right after this with my students. So I'm teaching plosive sounds there today. That's a live training where I'm actually coaching my students on the coaching call. So let me know for you now, what questions would you love for me to answer for you today? If you have any questions that you have been wanting to get some clarification on about English pronunciation, let me know. Dev, how you doing? Welcome back. Okay, let's have a look. So Dev has said, in the phrase of course, is it pronounced an F or a V? Good question. Okay, I'm going to answer this one because it's a really good question from Dev. And everyone can take some value from this, all right? Of course, let me say it, okay? And I want you to all listen and just tell me what you hear. I'm going to say it quickly. Of course. Of course. Of course. For example, can you help me? Of course I can. Okay. Khalil said V, and Khalil is correct. Well done, Khalil. It is a V, Dev. So of. It's the schwa sound here plus the V, because when we're saying of course, we're using the weak form of the word of. As I'm sure you know, there are a number of words in English that have their strong form and their weak form. They're normally grammar words that fall into this category. And of is one of them. It's got a strong form. For example, what's an example of? If I'm talking about the word of, I use its strong form. So how do you spell the word of? You spell it O-V. How do you pronounce it in normal speaking? You pronounce it with its weak form, which is of. So Dev, of course, of course, of course. And make sure that your bottom lip is vibrating against your top teeth. Of course, of course, of course. It's very common to have difficulty with the sound after vowels. So I want you to all make sure that you're saying this correctly, and this can be a really useful takeaway from today's lesson, that you've got really good pronunciation of the phrase of course, because it's one that I use quite a lot when I'm speaking English, okay? Of course. All right? So Dev, that should answer that for you. And yeah, everyone, make sure that you're comfortable with your in the second position, okay? If you need to practice it, just do as much as you need to get it. Right, so Manny says, how can you pronounce M, N, and Ng sound at the end of words? So, quite simply, Manny, if I talk about these sounds, I normally say M, N, or Ng. What I'm actually doing there, though, is I'm saying the sound and then I'm adding a schwa sound on to the end of it so that I can come out of those sounds. If I didn't add that schwa sound onto the end of the word, then what I would be saying is and And that's key. What you want to do is to be able to go into these sounds, the three nasal sounds, make them at the end of words, and then not explode out of them. Okay, so for example, if we just take the word him, 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 the lips are coming together and the airflow comes out through the nose. Him, him, him. Okay, what you want to avoid is saying him or him. Wataru from Japan, because Japanese doesn't normally have multiple consonants coming together, you normally have a vowel after every consonant in Japanese. This is going to be really valuable for you. Make sure that when you're saying your nasal sounds at the end of words, him, thin, thing, that you're not saying something like him or thin or thing. Okay. I know I did a lot of this with Japanese speakers when I was in Japan, so I understand that this is a challenge for or can be a challenge for Japanese speakers, but also many other languages as well have this same difficulty. I was doing a pronunciation audit for someone that bought my course yesterday, and I was analysing their pronunciation, and I was saying their pronunciation was really good on a certain area, but they were adding in a separate syllable on the ed ending. So they were saying, for example, thing. What's an example? Like arranged instead of arranged. So we want to make sure that we're not adding any additional vowels or syllables after when we don't need them. Okay. So yeah, you got it, Wataru. Awesome, awesome. So just to finish answering the question, Manny, that's how we do the M. The two lips come together. Him, him. For the N, tip of tongue comes to the alveolar ridge, same as for the T or D position. But this time we go to the position, we hold it there, and the airflow comes out the nose. Thin, thin, thin. Okay. My pen is thin. My pen is thin. Okay. And finally, and this is the one that most people struggle with, and I teach this a lot because for that reason, is the sound, which is the NG spelling, it's the back of the tongue coming up and touching the back of the mouth, just like you do for the k and g sounds. So if I say Kim or got, that tongue position g is the same for mm. For example, thing, thing, thing. And the number one mistake that we don't want to make, if you get the NG at the end of a word, is to make a G sound after it. Never, ever make a G sound at the end of a word when the spelling is NG. It's always pronounced mm. So for example, it's not finger, finger, it's thing, thing, thing. Okay? So Alberto's joined. Awesome. Everyone, Alberto is someone I've been working with for a little while now. He found me through YouTube actually, and he's doing incredibly well. He's a really good example of someone who's done very, very well with their pronunciation, just from following my advice and then actually implementing it himself. Alberto, I'm going to be sending you a message a little bit later on today actually, just with some follow-up notes from the other day, okay? So you've got them coming to you this afternoon. So what does what's everyone saying? Manny, does that answer the question for you there? Khalil has said true, the ing, most pronounce it inga. Yeah, absolutely. Khalil is perfect. He said that really nice and clearly there. So those three words that Khalil has just said as a final example would be smoking, eating, and what was the other word? It was swimming, swimming, no swimming. Cool, Monica's on the call as well, everyone. Monica is someone else who I've helped, someone else who has also done really, really well with her pronunciation. And again, a really good example of a non-native English speaker who has just worked through the difficulties of English pronunciation and has done really, really well. So Monica, thanks also for joining and being live here on the call today. By the way, everyone, just so you know, if any of you want my personal feedback on your pronunciation, the place that you can get that is in my course, the How to Speak English Clearly program, which you can go to here, howtospeakenglishclearly.com. When you join the course, I actually analyze your pronunciation and then give you a step-by-step roadmap that you can use to actually overcome all your difficulties in English pronunciation. I've been doing some of these reviews for new students this morning. I'm doing a live group coaching session for my course students this afternoon, just after this call actually. So if you want my one-to-one or my personal guidance on your pronunciation and a complete course, including intonation, linking speech, everything you need to master pronunciation so that you feel confident and in charge of your English, head to howtospeakenglishclearly.com and I'd love to review and analyze your pronunciation, okay? So, let's see what everyone's saying. What to do? I'm going to answer your question next, okay? Let's have a look here. Hassan, welcome. Thanks for joining. Great to have you on the live today. So Khalil has said about the word and. Okay, so I'm going to answer Wataru's question next, and then I'm going to answer Khalil's question on the word and. Okay. Merhaba, Hassan, welcome. Good to have you here. So, Wataru, your question was, you're having trouble with the true t and the glottal t. Sure. Okay. I actually covered this, Wataru, on the last live I did last week, but I'll teach it again here because it's very, very useful. So just something to be aware of. In Ireland, there's different Irish accents, but the Irish accents are generally quite different to the sort of standard BBC English accents. I've just spent quite a long time yesterday listening to someone with an Irish accent. It was the guy that I was listening to was an expert on breathing. And I was listening to him talk about how we can optimize our breathing. It was very interesting. And I noticed that I was listening to how him as a native English speaker sounds very, very different to, say, how I pronounce them, which I found really interesting. I've just had a load of comments come in. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read these comments in a second and answer them. But so Wataru, the T compared to the glottal T. The glottal T in standard BBC English is something that we really want to avoid. For example, if I say the word got, and I make a glottal T instead of saying got. For example, I've got a pen. If I say I've got a pen instead, that doesn't sound professional English. Okay, it sounds very informal. And if you were speaking English in a meeting or a job interview or a presentation or somewhere where you needed to be sounding formal and professional in your English, I would not advise doing that at all, okay? Because it sounds very informal in English. I said on the live last week, the only example that, or the only time that I would use a glottal T usually is if I was speaking to one of my friends or maybe my brother very, very informally, okay? It's not something that I would ever do or certainly not intentionally in a formal situation. Okay, so what I'd say to everyone about the glottal T, which is instead of t, for example, I wouldn't actually worry about learning it. It's not a sound in English. It's just something that people do in English when they're speaking less formally, okay? And what you're essentially doing is a glottal stop where in your throat down here, the windpipe in your throat is coming together and stopping airflow like this. Got. Okay, but I don't advise trying to pick that up yourself because it's just not good professional pronunciation. Okay, so instead, Wataru, we want to make sure that your T, the tip of your tongue is touching the alveolar ridge right behind your teeth, like that, okay? And then at the end of the word, which is where you're probably talking about the T sound, you go into it, and then what you also want to avoid is flipping out of the T sound and making an additional syllable, okay? The T at the end of words, got. It's a very soft T. You can either have no airflow come out like this, I've got, or some airflow, I've got. Both are fine, but what we want to avoid is got or got. We also want to avoid the glottal, for example, got. And the final thing that I talked about a lot in the last training, live training, we don't want to make a D sound either. It's not God, like in American English where they drop the T's into a D sound. Better instead of better. Okay? So Wataru, does that answer your question? I hope so. Right. Just whilst you comment, let me just see the questions that are coming in. Thanks everyone who's joining, by the way. Great having you on here. I enjoy doing these lives, answering your questions, and very happy to be supporting all of you. So Ramazan, hi, how you doing? Great to have you here. Busy Bee, my videos have helped you a lot. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome. I'm really, really pleased. And I will mention, I'll talk about triphthongs now actually, because that's not something that I usually talk about. Okay, let me just see what else is going on and then I'll answer your question. Wataru says, thank you very much. You're absolutely welcome, Wataru. I'm glad that's helped. Pasindu, how do we pronounce wine and vine distinctively? Okay, that's a good question. And Ramazan has said, can we say we totally delete the ng sound in the ng ending words? Drinking. Okay, so we've got some good questions here. Let me just go through and answer them one at a time. Okay. The first question I'm going to answer before Busy Bee is Ho's question. Hi Ho, how you doing? Ho is someone else who bought my course just a couple of weeks ago, everyone, this one here. I've already analysed his pronunciation, and Ho actually is a really good example. When I analysed his pronunciation, I was very, very impressed, and what I was impressed about can benefit everyone watching this. When I analysed Ho's pronunciation, KK's pronunciation, what he did, or what he does when he speaks, is he puts pauses in his English after all the important things that he says. So in putting in lots of pauses, it meant that for me listening to his English, he was very clear and easy to understand. It meant that when he spoke, he had a lot of authority to what he was saying because his English was slow and in control. Something I tell everyone who I help is that by slowing down the rate at which they speak, they will sound more assertive and more formal and more in control in English. And I always describe it like listening to the president or the prime minister of your country speaking. He'll always be speaking slowly, putting pauses in, and it gives authority to what you're saying. So KK, who's from Singapore, was putting these pauses in his speech, and it meant that even though he's still working on some sounds in English, the fact that he put pauses in made his English so clear, and it gave me so much time to interpret what he was saying. So a real big takeaway to everyone watching again is to make sure that you're putting in pauses in your speaking, especially after you say important words, because that then gives your listener time to interpret what you're saying, and it makes your English immediately way better, even if you're still working on certain sounds or certain difficulties in English. Okay, so just a little tip there, and something that I was really impressed with KK for doing. So KK asked, and I'm going to answer your question next, Busy Bee. KK asked, how do you pronounce the shun, or the shun ending in words like television or station, for example? And this is a really good question that, again, everyone can benefit from. Okay, so there are two pronunciations that can occur in these kind of situations. The I-O-N ending will always be a schwa plus an N syllable. So for example, if I say television or nuclear fusion or nuclear fission, okay, the I-O-N ending is always a schwa and an N sound. And what that means, because there's a schwa in there, is it means that it's always an unstressed syllable. So if you ever see a word that ends in the I-O-N spelling, you know that that is an unstressed syllable and it's not the stressed syllable in the word. Okay, for example, television, station, radiation, appreciation, fusion, all these words that end in I-O-N, the pronunciation is always schwa plus N sound. Okay? The reason why I said there are two possible pronunciations is because you can either get a sh sound before it, before the schwa plus n, or a voiced y sound before the schwa plus n. For example, in the word television, it's a y sound. Television. Television. Whereas in the word station, it's an unvoiced sh sound. Okay? Station. Station. Compared to y, television. But one thing to be aware of is that sound, that sh or y, whichever one it is, that will come at the end of the syllable before. So if you listen to me say television, can you hear how the y comes at the end of the syllable before? Vision, vision, vision. Can you hear how the y is on the syllable before? And then you're just left with the un for the final syllable. The same goes for station, okay? Station, station, station. And then connected, station, station. Okay, so this can be a big takeaway for everyone. The ION ending is always a schwa plus an N, okay? That's something that regardless of the spelling in a word, if the ending is ION, it's going to be an N, okay?